Hi guys, Bryant here for Directus. Welcome back to another episode of I Made This. Today I've got very special guests with me, my friends from Germany, Heinrichs and Heinrichs. I've got Erwin and Uwe. Guys, welcome to I Made This. This is going to be probably one of my favorite episodes. How are you guys?
Thank you so much for having us. We're fine. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. I'll just preface this to the audience and say that these guys build amazing things with Directus and Nuxt and all kinds of other technologies. And I'm really excited to showcase this project that they are going to demonstrate for us. But before we dive into that, guys, give me the story of Heinrichs and Heinrichs and yourselves as well.
Yeah, sure. Our story is, I think, not the normal story for front-end developer, but a very normal story for designers. So we both did study communication design, and that's a
Mhm.
very graphic design related course. Yeah, you can compare it with graphic design, to be honest. And we did do during our studies a lot with user interface designs and things like that. And we did love design all the time. And we tried to bring new ideas for the web to life. And at the beginning, we just were designers. And so we had freaking ideas, but had have the opportunity to realize it. And yeah, so we thought about at first we started with cooperating with programmers, and they had to bring it to life. And after a bit of time, it gets more and more frustrated because we heard things like, "No, it's not possible in this way." So we learned by
Uh,
ourselves, and that's the reason why we're designers and front-end developers right now.
That's great. So you guys were working with programmers before, and they just like they would take your designs and say, "Hey, this is not going to work out," and you're
Yeah,
like, "No, it
true.
is.
Yeah, it
If
should
we have to
be.
do it ourselves, we'll get it done."
Yeah, right.
I love that. I love it. So when did you guys start your agency?
We don't have an agency right now, so we're both working as freelancers, but
Oh, okay.
we're collaborating the
Okay.
most of the time.
Gotcha.
So all the projects we're doing together, and we started for 2.5 years ago, I think. Yeah, with full time, just doing our stuff. It's like 2.5 years.
So how many in that 2 years? Like, how many projects have you guys done?
We did a lot of projects, to be honest. So for the most of the time, we're working as like ghost designers or ghost front-end developers because we signed a lot of NDAs and worked for global players and did
Uh,
very niche things where we designed unique user interfaces, and then we more started to do things for our own clients, so not just participating in a team. And I think for our own projects we did in the last 2.5 years, didn't count it, to be honest. So there must be more than
I,
20.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And like before the show, I was browsing around on your website, and I love the interactions that you guys have programmed into it.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you so much.
it like, do you get to like do clients come to you specifically for that style of like, hey, we want something very interactive, or is that just like you guys flexing your own creative muscles for your own site?
Yeah, it's a bit flexing, to be honest, because at the moment we just get our clients not because of our huge digital performance, and not the digital performance. It's more like we don't have an Instagram account. We barely happen on LinkedIn. We I think our website is currently not so the robots.txt blocks right now Google and things like that. So
I
we
get you.
barely happen out there in the World Wide Web, but we're trying to reach out more and more. And we also have a plan doing a blog and things like that to get more so that we can show more the Heinrichs and Heinrichs approach, and not the we're just ghost designers and you can place us into a team and then we will figure something out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love it. I think your approach is awesome. And talk to me about like the tooling that you guys are using. Like, first and foremost, like what are you designing in? Like, how do you come up with this stuff? Does everything start in like a sketch pad, or you like go straight to Figma? Like, talk to me through that.
Yeah, it depends, to be honest. So sometimes we go the very classic way and start with a mood board and think about, so if it's
Mhm.
a topic where we have to deep dive, then we start Googling a lot. So which are which what does our client do? So what does he want? How does he want to present himself in the internet, or with his idea of his brand? And then we start, for example, with the mood board, and then we go straight into Figma or Adobe XD and start there with some ideas. They can roughly be just some UI components, more like a rough sketch, not just. So we don't do a pixel perfect design at the beginning. It's more the creative direction process where we try to generate look and feel, and to bring a brand to life. Yeah. And after that, then we go for a more precise approach. Yeah.
Cool, cool. What's your tech stack that you guys are using for like most of your clients?
Our tech stack is for Nuxt 3 is one of our most used front end frameworks. Yeah, we also did some things with Vue 3, but when it comes to a website for a client, then Nuxt 3 is our way to go. And for the
Kind of
backend,
the
we
go-to.
use,
I love Nuxt
yeah,
3.
yeah, we do also. And for the backend, now our main way to go is Directus. So whenever
That's
there's a
that's good.
chance to place Directus, then we're going to use it. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and of course that's why we're here. But what did you guys like? What tools did you use for backends before Directus? Or like well, let me preface that. Like, are
yeah.
most of the sites that you're doing like very content heavy, or like are you doing like apps for clients as well? Or
Well, we did both. So we started with,
okay,
so when we talk about the typical client who just needs a website, then we came from WordPress. So like almost everybody who
okay,
started with just the front end things, and there we started in the very early stages. We just bought the theme, and then we customized it, changed the colors, had a look of which plugins could we install and things like that. And after that, we started doing our own themes. Then we just back and used Elementor, things like that. Yeah, but yeah,
Pen yes,
everybody
basically.
everybody knows WordPress, and yeah, and we don't like PHP, to be honest.
it's a solid platform.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
I'm right there with you.
definitely.
Like, a WordPress is it's a solid platform. My experience has been much the same though, so I'll echo exactly what you guys said.
Yeah, it becomes very difficult when you start installing plugins and another plugin, and then you have to update it, and then you have to figure out if it's still compatible with the new WordPress version and things like that. And then your homepage keeps breaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great when you log in and see there's like 75
Yeah,
update notifications for the plugins, right? You know it's going to be a good day.
so
So
true.
did you guys jump directly from WordPress into Directus, or was there like
No.
some other tool that you try?
We did a lot of traditional CMS systems. So we also worked with Joomla. I don't know if this says to anyone out there. We also used Contao, and that's a very small traditional CMS system. Then we also used for e-commerce systems the WooCommerce plugin that is WordPress as well. But we also did something with Magento. And yeah, we tried a lot, to be honest. And then there comes the point where we heard about the Headless CMS system at first, and then we also tried things like Statamic. We also tried Strapi, and
Yeah, Pimcore.
Pimcore, and yeah, and then
Core.
Directus also.
Gosh. So you guys have been through like dozens of different tools.
Yeah, we tried everything, to be honest.
How did you guys originally come across Directus, or how did you find Directus?
It was more or less a Google search.
Yes.
So we just Googled what is the best headless CMS you could use, and then you get Directus, you get Strapi, you get
Storyblock, I think.
Storyblock, Contentful, things
Yes.
like that. And yeah,
Yeah,
then
there we
we did try.
Well, the marketing guys are definitely going to love that.
And
Yeah.
we also love the open source approach,
Yeah, that's
because
also cool.
where we didn't have much experience with headless CMS systems, so the open source approach was the best one for us to give it a try. So we started out with Strapi, I think, and then tried Directus. And Directus gave us much more flexibility in building these relations between the data we want.
Yeah, I would say we, as a designer, Directus was usable, was very, very, was very easy to use in comparison with Strapi, because in Strapi you had to, the server has every time to reload if you change anything in the data object, things like that. So it was more or less in the daily
Gotcha.
task. Directus was way easier to use.
You change something, you have a real-time API, and this combined with a hot module reload, and Nuxt 3 was perfectly efficient workflow for us.
Awesome. Yeah. So like one of my other questions to you guys, obviously you've got clients that are using Directus. We kind of internally, we consider it like a Swiss Army knife. Like you could use it for an app backend, you can use it for a headless CMS. There's like too many different use cases. So I'm curious, like, how do you guys present Directus to your clients when you're either like in like the initial stages of the project, or later when you're actually like building the CMS and showing it to them?
Yeah, it depends. So sometimes we have clients who does have a little bit of technical expertise, and when we just make some buzzword dropping like headless CMS, they are, yeah, go for it. We love headless CMS. But sometimes we have clients who came or who does have a WordPress site at the moment, for example, and they are like, yeah, okay, it could be faster, but I think it's already fast. And then you have to deep dive into what are the opportunities while using a headless CMS, and why it's so much better than using a WordPress, for example, in this scenario where you have to maybe in our example, what we're going to show, that we have two front-end sites and one Directus backend. This is so much more practicable than a WordPress backend. And then sometimes where we do a backend for a web application, for example, then there's no other possibility than using a Swiss Army knife, as you said, as Directus, for example. Or you even could use it for the digitalization of a product portfolio. That's also things we've done with product information management systems. But as we deep dived in Directus, we learned that this also could be totally possible doing with Directus, and that's awesome, I think.
Yeah, that spoken like a true champion, I guess. Like that is like you guys are very good, very good. Let's get into it. Like, are you guys ready to dive in? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Uwe.
Sorry. I also love the the fact that we can like outsource the content task to to a specific person or to a specific team and say, go for it.
That's true.
Fill it out, play with it, create some content, and we can focus on building the front end or the actual use case for the data the other ones are creating.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, so you can like being able to like decouple the content and the front end
from the
is
business logic,
useful in that scenario.
Yeah, that's true.
Great. Cool. So do you guys want to dive in and show this project? I can remember like seeing it when we had a quick call before we scheduled the episode, and I was blown away, and I think the audience is too, but.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay. All right. So while we're sorting out the details there, Uwe, why don't you kind of give me the backstory of the project?
So the backstory was we had so it all started, I think, 7 or 8 years ago. I was still a student when I got the connection to Rockstar Recruiting, who just raised their who just built their company, and they asked me back then for a logo, and that's still the logo we can see over here. And we did a small, so I did a small brand design back then, and now after 7 years later, they reached out back and said, maybe you could help us doing a new homepage, a new website, and that's what we did. And yeah, that's what you can see here right now.
Like, that's awesome. So 8 years ago, you did the website or the logo for them, and then they, like 8 years later, they're like, "Hey, this guy's awesome. Let's come back and get the website done."
Yeah, that's how it happened.
Yeah. So they're basically a recruiting firm for developers and engineering talent. Yes. That's what I gather from the website.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what they are. So they are a recruiting agency who are looking for developers and data engineers and things like that. And the first thing we did here was we asked them, how do the users of your website reach to your website right now? And they said, yeah, the most of them are not some Google search hits. They are more like they go to a lot of showcases and things like that, and from there they go to the website. So we thought about, when the most of the people who go to this website already know who Rockstar is, why don't we start with the huge call to action where you can reach out to the point what you're going to do right here. So if you're a company and want to hire a tech talent, or if you're a candidate, meaning a developer or a data engineer or something like that, you could also go straight to the candidate page. So we just made an animation where you can switch to left and right for the candidates and also for the companies.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And I love the like the black and white aesthetic, and just it feels very much like you're specifically targeting developers. And are those keyboard shortcuts that I see down there as well?
Yeah, these are keyboard shortcuts inspired by the terminal, meaning you have, for example, here you can see the Control and H button. Then you would get to home, or you could press Control and E to go to the imprint, and for the events or the recruiters or everything like that. And you can hit it and go straightly to the recruiter page, for example, like I did here. Or you also could, if you're not technical, more a company, for example, who's searching for technical developers, then you also can also just press the button. So the idea is to have a user experience for both, for the developers or the tech experience people, but also it should be able to navigate if you don't have much experience with the terminal in this scenario.
Yeah, and to keep it, we used a lot of a look and feel, from the web 1.0 time. So like these ASCII borders and this typing animations and everything is feels like a bit a long time ago.
Yeah, that's so true. And
it's beautiful. How long did you guys spend in like the design phase for this?
I think the design phase.
Just curious.
In 8 days, something like that.
I think the whole phase with finding the right idea and deciding which way to go.
When
about like a month.
Yeah, when you go for the whole process with thinking about the mood, and then it did take something like a month. But the designing process where we just made the UI components, where the idea was set, then I think we went forwards pretty fast. Yeah, and here we have things like, for example, the ASCII border. In the screen design process, it was pretty simple, and we thought about, this would be something like you would do it in the Web 1.0 version, and we didn't think 1 second about how it could be used in a responsive scenario, because in the Web 1.0 world there was no responsive. So we had problems that we never thought about, because when you want to make this ASCII border responsive, it was quite complicated, to be honest. So we made an SVG grid. And then,
I bet.
So yeah, we just started with just using some CSS and changing the content. Then we learned, okay, it's not possible. Then we used it with then we tried it with JavaScript, also pretty hard. And then we came to SVG grid.
There you go. Yeah, that's you guys definitely made it challenging on yourself. Like the end result, it looks great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but yeah, these are some small things which you didn't think when you're designing that you never would think about. Yeah, it could be a problem doing a border like this. So
yeah, these are the things which come back with a comment like, "This is not possible."
Yeah, that's so true, and I can totally understand that. Yeah, I can totally understand
that's
that.
great.
This would be something which can, with the comment, possible. Yeah, but we made it possible with a lot of effort. But yeah, it's there. And yeah, we also did here all the ASCII animations.
Yeah, those are great. Can you guys does your client Rockstar mind if you show us around like the Directus instance that's powering this?
No, not at all. We asked before, and it's no problem at all. So we can deep dive into the Directus. So, and as we told before, they have 2 front-end pages. So they have 2 websites, Rockstar, the one we just saw, and Text Executive. I can also show that. That's the same thing for executive roles in the development process. And this is not,
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, this is right now, that's not an own firm. It's just by Rockstar Recruiting right now. They will change that, I think, but for the moment, they share a lot of global components. For example, the people. There are a lot of people who are working for Rockstar right now, and also for Text Executive, and that's the point where Directus made so much sense, because we could do some global components and some components for Rockstar or for Text Executive in this scenario.
Yeah, like the locations, the blog posts, people, and so on.
Yeah, the blog post, for example, goes for both. People goes for both, and also the locations, because they decided not to translate their content. They decided to just show the different locations with different content. So you can choose between Berlin and Zurich, and there you have different people for the team, and you have some more Berlin related infos and things like that. So if we go for the home
content, got it.
here, you
Okay,
can choose
cool.
between Berlin and Zurich, for example. Yeah.
Nice. So this is using the Directus translations feature, but not necessarily for translations. It looks like it's
Yeah.
all in English.
That's true. It's all
Yeah.
is in English, but we just use the translation feature as a location feature, and it works pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So it looks like I see over in the nav bar, you've got your globals, and then you've got like your different stacks of Rockstar versus Tech Executive, and like, how, like what do your clients think of this? Like, was this like an iterative process when you built like the back end of Directus with them, or you just said like, hey, we've gone through and mapped all this, and then just like, hey, go take a look and tell us what you thought?
Yeah, that's one of the coolest things in Directus, because we do drafts with how we want to organize our data, or how we want to be more specific when we have a UI component like this one at the beginning, how we want to make it possible to change these words which are typed over here. And then there are things which just make sense. For example, here you can add the text for it, and then it will just be changed in the front end, and it's you can extend it with other developer variants, how we called it, or you can erase one just with the tag feature. But
Gotcha.
yeah,
And you guys have, it looks like every bit is dynamic on here. Like
almost.
Like
that's so true.
Almost.
Yeah,
that's great.
And yeah, because we as designers, we love to give the users a good experience on the front end. So on the website, when they are entering it, we love a good user experience when they know how to navigate, when they know how to scroll, when they know where all the most important informations are. But with Directus, we had the opportunity to also make a good user experience for the backend. And that's the thing we really love, because we have the possibility to say, okay, we can make almost everything dynamic, and then they have the possibility to change some things. But in this scenario, it's almost not only almost, it's impossible to break the design, because all things are as limited
Yes.
as they will always look good. It doesn't matter how much they enter here. And that these are the things when you, for example, when our clients had Elementor in WordPress or things like that, they just started entering a headline which was, I don't know, 120 words or something like that, and the whole design breaks and everything looks awkward. And yeah, with Directus we have
I've been there a bunch of times.
Yeah. And we have the possibility to limit everything that's almost impossible to break the design. And that's a huge thing we love about
it. Or what are like 2 or 3 of your favorite pieces that you guys have implemented for this?
I think the contact form for Tech Executive was quite a thing.
Yeah, that's true. This one's one of our most loved features. It's a contact form for the Tech Executive page on Tech Executive. And there you have the differentiation. So how do you want to start? You can choose between I'm a candidate or I represent a company. And if you choose one, then you get to the type to the form wizard, where you can enter your name and your last name, then your email and your phone number. Okay, checks it's a real phone number. Okay, now and all this is completely dynamic and is completely editable. So you have the question groups you can see over here with data, then the professional track record, technical skills, additional informations, and you can see all these things for the candidate form here. So you have the personal data, and there you have the questions we just go through. So first name and last name, email, phone, things like that. And you always have the possibility to create a new question, and there you can choose between a question type. So we have a question with answers, or a question with input, or a question with answer autofill. So if you go for the answer, for example, I will show this to the front.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this looks really amazing. I can't
this-
imagine how many hours you guys have spent just on this one component.
yeah, it was quite hard. But I think it's very cool because now it's a pretty fast wizard for very complex for a very complex topic, because entering all data from a CV, for example, the technical knowledge in this scenario is a question with answers autofill. I can show it over here. And this is a component where we made a question with answer autofill. The question is, what's your technical knowledge? Then enter your programming language you're familiar with and rate your experience from 1 to 6. And then you get all the autofill words. These are the most used programming languages. And then you have the rating enabled, and you get you can enter a hint for each star. So it's a novice, beginner, intermediate, advanced, professional.
Wow, this is mind blowing, guys.
And when you, for example, add JavaScript, you can choose you're a beginner or a novice, and this all comes from Directus. And you have the possibility, for example, to do this with technical knowledge, but you could also use this component for languages. So are you a fluent speaker of English, Spanish, or whatever? And then you also could rate it, and you could also change the states here with intermediate, advanced, and things like that. And you could also fill in all the autofills like we did here. This is a pretty cool thing where we first used the edit raw value, because when we were provided the list with I don't know how many there are, I think something like 250 programming languages. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's true. And then we want to edit, and the first thing we tried was like okay, JavaScript, and then we did some commas, but it didn't work, because when you enter a comma that makes sense, then it just enters this tag. But placing all 250 tags with just copy paste them, it would be a lot of work. And then we just found out you have the possibility to edit the raw value. And then we just take all of them, export it as a JSON, copy paste it in here, and voila, there they are. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That you also
is that something that you teach your clients as well, like the edit raw value? Do your clients use that, or just you guys?
For this specific use, we didn't have to, because it's more like a initial fill. Because after importing all the 250 tags, the only things which can happen in the future is that there will be one or two more, and you just have to enter them in here. So you will never have the possibility, the use case again, where you have to import 250 autofill words, because which programming language, I don't know, they just added, I think, OpenAI or something like that, which is pretty new. But it's not like there are 3 or 4 programming languages a month.
Right. What's I'm curious, like, what do the relationships look like just for like this one like question and answer like form component?
Which in the data module. We have the question groups with the name, description, and questions. Here's the many-to-many relation questions. And
for the questions, okay.
We have the question. No, that's the group. Where are the questions? Here the question. Yeah, okay. So it's a it's a huge question data model.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
still very easy to use because we did work a lot of conditions in this scenario. So this is what I thought, which I have shown here. When you go for a new question, we have so many conditions that the first thing you would see is the question type, and after filling that, you will get the question description, auto words, and then you have also the condition for do you want a rating for the answers? And if you enable that, you also can change the rating description. So
it's very much, you know, it's a lot of information, but like with the conditional fields inside Directus, you don't overwhelm the end user at all. It's
right.
very clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Thank you.
What like are there any other like favorite little features that you guys have built into this thing?
Yeah, I think one of the things we already have shown was the thing with the developer variants over here. And one thing we also have done is additional pages. And this is where we didn't use right now the many-to-any relation where you just can place some components in. But they had the idea that they want for SEO landing pages for different keywords, which they are going to pay for the Google Ads. And that's when we introduce the component additional pages, and this is just the ID in the Nuxt, and they can add it over here. So they have the page name contracting, for example, then they got a huge wizard where they can implement everything. They also have a script field because they have a good technical expertise, so, and they ask for it, and we just let them do that. But yeah, normally this would be a much too much for a customer with no technical expertise.
Right.
Yeah, and
yeah. It's really easy to blow up the site with those script tags.
Yeah, that's so true. But in this scenario, it works, and they have the possibility to enter a page name, and then they are live, the pages, so you can reach them just by entering the slash. And if you want to place them in the menu, you also have the possibility to go into the menu field, and there you can add the menu and also have the possibility to add the letter for the quick access, for example. So the menu we showed.
Ah, man. Like you guys have literally thought of everything with this.
Yeah, it was very fun because it was the first time we recognized how many possibilities there are with not just making it dynamic, also to make something like conditions and to limit things and to give things like soft quotas in the blog posts for the descriptions, for example. And these are a lot of things which just made so much fun, and that's the reason why we try to
and all
everything dynamic,
and also have the whole control over the metadata. This was also pretty impressive, where each page has a title, description, and image field. We can the client can use if he wants to, and this was pretty neat and pretty good because he has the whole control over the SEO thing and over his Google Ads campaigns. And this was also like a game changer for us.
Yeah, that's true. The metadata field was
and it looks like that is using the translations feature as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can have different metadata for the different locations. Nice.
Yes.
And we also made
so like both of these sites are built on Nuxt on the front end?
Yeah, both
right?
are Nuxt front end pages.
Gotcha. And obviously, like you guys are, you mentioned you had a lot of view experience, but what were your, like, as you were building this, like, what would you say are like your favorite bits, or like why would you reach for Nuxt versus just like regular Vue or one of the other, I think there's several other frameworks on Vue as well.
I think Nuxt works best for us because it has the different render modes. For example, the hybrid rendering and the SSG thing. And in the new Nuxt, we use, I think the first time we were using like the server-side rendering, because before we just did projects with static, just static sites, a static stack.
That was Nuxt 2 times, but yeah, we also did the Nuxt generate and reached out there static sites. But yeah, the server side rendering thing is way too cool, to be honest.
For me, I like the file-based routing, because in the classical Vue environment, it's a pain in the ass to configure the router and to say these are the children of this route and to register all the components. And if you want to start a website with Nuxt, you just hit the CLI, go for it, and directly start developing. I think it's the perfect way to go. It keeps the boundaries for making progress very low.
Love it. What like, did you guys have any trouble integrating Directus with Nuxt?
Not at all. we did see there was an example online already, I think, with the block and Nuxt thing, and that's something we set up, and then we just get from there. We had everything we needed, to be honest. So it was very easy.
Yes, at the beginning I think it was your GitHub repo, Bryant, the one with the Directus SDK.
Yeah, true. It was his.
Yes, this was the role model for our first Nuxt Directus project. Then we saw the module Nuxt Directus, and we built a little wrapper around it, because we had to implement our localized functionality. So we had a little wrapper around the wrapper, where we check, which local is present and which local should be used. So,
yeah, great guys. So I do want to be respectful of your time. I know I think we've gone a little over what we had planned, but this is it's so interesting to me to like see how you guys have constructed this and put it all together. Hey, let's talk about like the future. Like what's the future look like for you guys? I know that's pretty vague, but like, what are you working on? Like, where do you want to go with this? Like, what else do you want to do?
One thing we are going to do for the Rockstar page we just have shown, I think quite funny, because I've seen you just released, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or something like that, a video with ChatGPT and Directus, and that's the thing we did also in the same time, to be honest. And
that's great.
we love it, because the idea is you still have a long journey while filling out the whole form for a candidate, because you have to enter your name, your email, your telephone number, and also some text like what are your experiences in your technical industries and things like that. And our idea is to just drop down your CV, and then we will parse all the data, send it to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will sort all the data into the fields we have in our form, and just will pre-fill the whole form. And in the best case scenario, you just have to press next, and send.
Wow. That would be amazing. That would be a great, like, we're calling that new series the Directus Hotline, but that would be a great episode as well.
True.
Oh, what about the future for you guys? Like, do you have a bunch more projects in the works? aside from this one, or?
Yeah, we do have some daily tasks, but for us as a collabo, our next step would be we're at the moment refactoring our own homepage, so our Heinrichs und Heinrichs.de. And we just set up a Directus for this site also, and we're trying to reach out to the world with more public relation. So we're just looking forward to release a blog and to do some things on LinkedIn, to have the possibility to get more cool projects like Rockstar, for example, and not just to be in our daily task and as a ghost designer and ghost developer.
Yes, and also
Gotcha.
the website is getting a new look and feel, a new a new design update, a new technical update. We're moving into Nuxt 3.
So at the moment, views, right?
Yes, and we're also doing trying a new thing with Directus where we are rendering blocks.
Yeah,
maybe we can show
the many to any relate
where we're trying to like a homepage. And the homepage contains different blocks, and in the front end, we will have like a render skeleton where the API call determines which component gets rendered. So we have like a front end block and a back end block, which can be used in many ways or for many projects.
Yeah, the main idea is to have
like reusable components over and over and over, and make it like an own component framework.
Small library where we just can make some front-end UI components in Directus and reuse in our Nuxt framework to just get things fast done. If you have reusable components, you use all the time.
I've got something to share with you guys on that front then. Yeah. I've got a project that is in the works. Teasing the audience a little bit, but I'll share it with you guys for sure. I think it'll be helpful for you on that side.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, guys. So if anybody wants to learn more about you guys and like look at some of the projects that you've done, or even work with you guys, like how's the best way to go about contacting you?
Could reach us to our website. So it's a very complicated URL, mainly for the English speakers, because it's Heinrichs und Heinrichs.de. But we just bought a new URL, Heinrichs.cool. And there you
cool. There you go. That's a little easier.
That's very easy. And there you can reach us via email every time.
Yes, I think when this episode will go live, the new date will also be live. This is now me calling it out.
Don't put yourself on a timeline. I think we're gonna turn this one around pretty quickly. So, I look forward to seeing the new site. I could tell you all the guys on our team played around with your existing site for like 20 minutes, and they were like, "Oh, this is so cool." So I can't wait to see what the new one looks like. Guys, been a pleasure. I really appreciate you joining us, and I can't thank you enough. And I look forward to seeing like the next project that you guys come out with.
Thank you so much for having us. It was great.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.